Hola, so my name is Sandra Viljoen from New Beginnings, and welcome to my beautiful home in Fiji. And today I've invited some good friends to have a conversation about self-development. So one of the things that my friends that I have here today have in common is they've all attended NLP for leaders training, and we know, and I know that for sure, how meaningful and powerful self-development is for us as people in general. But we thought we'd have a conversation about it and to unpack some of the benefits, advantages or challenges that people have around self-development and self-mastery. So welcome, and we're enjoying this glorious, beautiful view, even though it's not a sunny day, it's a beautiful rainy day. And let's carry on. So welcome everyone. Maybe would you like to start and introduce yourself to the camera?
Bolovinaka, my name is Talanoa Session, and I'm from the beautiful islands of Fiji. This afternoon, it's such a great pleasure to be sitting amongst friends, to be able to share my humble thoughts on behalf of neuro-linguistic programming. And this is a training that I had attended here in Fiji in November 2021 with New Beginnings.
Bolovinaka, I'm Lanoma, and I'm also from this beautiful island paradise, Fiji. And it is such a great opportunity to be here with these beautiful friends, having a great conversation about why we are with Newbie and our experiences with NLP training.
Bolovinaka, my name is Owen Handyside, and I'm privileged this afternoon to be in the company of friends to share the learnings that we had with New Beginnings, and particularly share this afternoon about self-development. Thank you.
Okay, so self-development, and as I think of self-development, a lot comes to my mind. So I'm really curious to you, what comes to your mind if you think about self-development in your own life and self-development around people that you know? What does it mean for you? So Lottie, tell us, start with you. What does self-development mean for you?
For me, self-development is about the process that I undertake to become a better person or a better version of myself. And life is about continuous improvement. It's about learning, about expanding my perspective, about reading, because the more I learn, the more I read, I am at a better place to be able to respond to life and the situations that happens around me.
So, and in saying that, in your life, when did you think you personally started doing some sort of self-development?
As recent as probably 2 years ago, since I started learning about NLP. I used to think that my previous perspective on self-development was, in fact, it was just technical skills, learning about the job and the skills that I'm able to become a professional. But on behalf of personal development, I didn't realize until I actually went through the NLP training that it's me understanding how I'm able to become exceptional, to become to have that excellence, to be able to perform better and improve the way that I think, the way that I respond to situations, the person that I am.
And it's so interesting you say that, because when you say that, it reminds me about what we talk about, the difference between horizontal development and vertical development. And as you were saying, when we talk and learn in our lives about skills, and when we move from going from school to work, we learn new skills and techniques and we develop ourselves, but that's sort of like horizontal, because we're adding a new skill, adding something else, as opposed to the self-development, as you said, the vertical development that we get when we attend programs like this, because what then it helps you, it gives you this a different perspective on the same skills that you have. So you're growing vertically as well as growing horizontally. So nice analogy. So Lanoma, what about for you? What does self-development mean for you?
For me, self-development is definitely being the better version of myself. And it's about learning the tools that can actually help me be that person, you know, to be able to be, you know, to maximize my potential.
So what does that mean, to maximize your potential? What does that mean for you?
Well, for me, it would mean to be a better mother, to be a better wife, to be a better citizen, to be a better friend, to be a better sister, to be a better person in my interactions with others.
Nice. Like that. What about you, Owen, being the only guy amongst us today? So what is that for you?
It does definitely get me thinking, because prior to doing this, the understanding was it was only on behalf of developing professionally. But having come into this and gone through the various learnings, it's reminded me that it's traverse. It's not anecdotal to just my professional encounter at work, but also, as Lanoma touched on a little bit, as a husband, as a father, as the person in the community, and we develop holistically. This training didn't just help me to develop in one aspect, but in my entirety. And I guess when you have that view, it does help in a lot of the engagements that I've had. It's brought about more meaning in the conversations. So it's for me, it starts from within. And then when I discovered, and I still am, but the strength that I have, the development, it becomes enjoyable. Yes.
And I like what you said about meaning. You know, one of the things that we learn from NLP and from the training that we do is that we are the meaning makers, right? We're the ones that change or we have the power to change the meanings we give for everything in our lives, whether it's our relationship with money, our relationship with people, and that's really been a change. So I suppose another thing that I'm really curious about is often people that come on the training, they say, oh my gosh, but now I'm going back into a life with mixing with friends and family that don't know what we've learned, and they often talk about the struggles that they've had going back into life, and the people they're meeting aren't aware of the things that we know, like the communication model. How has that affected in your life? I mean, have you been able to see that when you're conversing with friends or family members, and the back of your mind is saying, oh, you know, I wish you knew what I knew. Has anyone had that? We can share something on that.
I had that experience, and I guess one of the things that has come out is talent is overrated and practice is not. So with those conversations, the practicing what we learn actually gets you or gets me to be more able to influence them and make meaning of what we're talking about or what we're sharing. So while the reality for both of us or whoever I'm sharing with is what's definitely in front of us, it is about getting them to think differently, asking those probing questions that get them to open up and probably say, there's something different about the way this conversation is being framed. And it could be the same conversation that they've had with somebody else who hasn't been on the training, but they definitely can see that there's a different approach that we have, and it brings out the best in them.
Thank you. And Lanoma, Lotte, have you had any examples when you meet people that you think, oh gosh, I wish you knew what I've learned?
One of the things that have, for me, that I've experienced is being able to influence through my behavior, through the way that I act, the way that I lead, not only at home but also in the workplace. And my team usually, they will look at me and they will say, something's changed, I'm more understanding, and when they ask certain questions, or when I ask probing questions, to be able, and I get them to understand the reason why I'm asking the question. It's not that to get them into an uncomfortable situation, but to allow them to understand that I'm asking so that I'm seeking clarity, so that I understand why is it that they are responding the way that they are. And when that, like the pin drops, and they say, aha, it's like an aha moment for them. And it helps in relationship building. In building relationship, I think this has helped me be at a better place, helped me in becoming, again, not only influential, but, when you're trying to change a culture, it has helped because you are leading, and, and people will want to know, okay, how do I do that? So it's really
That's
great.
so nice. That's a great example, especially when you said, because I can really imagine, and I've had that feedback before, where after this training you ask a lot of questions, right? And people like, wow, you're so different, and why are you asking me all these questions? And it's quite amazing, though, by unpacking, instead of just giving staff members, like you explained, a team member, an actual something that they need to do, by asking them, they get to sort of enable their own thinking. And as you said, it's a great example. So great. What about anything that you've come to that comes to mind, Lanoma?
Yeah, for me, I resonate with that question. Definitely, day in, day out. Not just at home, but at work and in the community. And I wish everybody would go through this training. But then again, it will become very boring, right? But for me, my biggest challenge is, yes, I've done the training, I've got the tools, and I've got the knowledge. The challenge is, how do I apply this? And how do I make people see where I'm coming from? And how do I change their mindset into understanding that this is how they can change in their own personal development. Yes. So I become an educator at that instant, where I share the knowledge and I say, let's look at it this way, or can I help you look at it this way?
Oh, great. And it's so true, because I think that comes back to what the topic that we wanted to talk about is the importance of self-development. Mm-hmm. And very often, I know my parents were like that. They never did any self-development. So how important it is that we keep, who has the responsibility? I think that's always the question, because sometimes we tend to, especially this type of training, companies are going to send it to you on the training. Who has the responsibility, and what does it take to get to the place where you actually say, you know what, I'm doing this for me. This is my responsibility. My own personal growth is not my boss's responsibility, it's not my parents' responsibility, it's my responsibility, right? And so saying that, what are the ways that you think we can influence? So each one of you are, whether it's in your work environment or communities that you help, how can we influence people to take better care of their state of mind, as you said, changing mindsets? How do we help people to understand and value placing enough importance on themselves so that they work on their own growth and their own personal mastery? Or maybe some of the things you've already done, because I know each of you have done a lot of the things. And Lanoma, you just suggested of, when you're teaching them, but what are the ways that you think we can work together on influencing this very important message to the general communities?
I think a good place to start would be within the communities or the workplaces that we have an influence. For example, creating an awareness about, I work closely with teens in the church setting environment, and how I'm able to challenge some of the thinking patterns that they run, and whether it's serving them any purpose, and then just giving them chunks and awareness of why they would consider this instead of this, the choices, the decisions that they make, helping them understand the consequences of the choices that they make. And this, we're talking about 13 to 17-year-olds coming together and from different backgrounds, and then we are trying to inculcate a certain belief or a culture and how that will change how they will respond to the world. So just embedding bits and pieces of the tools and the techniques from NLP, and that in itself, it will not happen overnight. And one thing that I've personally learned, that practice, proper practice makes perfect, or what Owen had shared, that talent is overrated, practice is underrated. So what I find with NLP is the more that I practice, the more that I use the skills and the technique, it serves me well. And at work, it's just embedding it into the day-to-day, whether it's in a briefing session or impromptu sessions, and just conversation, taking time out, understanding why they think that the way that they do, and creating awareness through taking one topic or one presupposition of NLP and expounding on it and how they can relate to that.
So what I'm hearing you say is that one of the great ways that we're actually able to share the importance of why is by actually practicing it ourselves, applying it to ourselves, and by applying it to young people, especially what you're saying, that's really remarkable. Even if it's one presupposition a day, sharing it with them is a great way of getting them to think about the importance and to come back. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Salata. Anything else that you think of? How can we influence?
Well, Sandra, you would, and I think for all of us, we understand our culture, silence is a mark of respect. And through this, through the self-development, we learn that you can ask questions and still be respectful. Often we feel that we tread in a very fine line by being able to challenge the status quo. But when you get them to understand that there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and they develop to be able to know that I'm not being disrespectful, but I'm seeking clarity. What can I do different? Like you said, it comes to a point where we decide that there's nothing left for me. Yeah. Our education system probably brings us up to school hard, find a job. Which with this we learn school hard, find a job, and employ people. Just changing that mindset. I'm not going to be the same that my parents or my grandparents were. I need to be able to be different, and it starts with a shift in mindset. And this is what this self-development offers to us. The shift has to happen, and when the shift starts from, like we shared earlier, from the younger people, and they realize that there's nothing wrong with being able to come out and see clarity and ask and do things differently. There's going to be an evolution.
So true. It's that shifting our own minds is a great way of influencing the shift that happens out, because it's systemic. We're in one system. So fantastic. So another thing that I'm curious, and especially with all of you here today in our circle, is the fact that, so Salota and Owen, you're married. Lanoma, I know both your children have attended this type of training. Has the language in the family arguments or the family discussions changed? Have you caught yourself using some of the terms or languages, or sharing it with each other in times of moment, or catching meta programs? So maybe you can sort of share with us, how has that impacted when you've done something like this together? Because that's one of the things that happens often is people that leave this training say, I've got to send my husband or my wife or my child to it. So we keep getting the family members back, and you're a perfect example. So how has the language in your home family life changed since you've both been on the training, or with Aaron and Elaine for you, Lanoma?
So one thing for Owen and I, we tend to back each other up. For example, I'll come home one day and I said, man, I've had a really shitty day and my boss is giving me this and this. And Owen will say, listen, you need to understand it, understand where he's coming from, and, you have to understand, that's basically he's responding from his map of reality. Maybe and the same thing when he comes home and he shares, I'm just this and that and that. And then I also comfort him by saying, listen, maybe you don't know what they're going through, what he or she is going through, and you have to understand, put yourself in their shoes, and it's just that we feed off each other. And with our daughter, one of the things, because she had moved school and found the current IB curriculum quite challenging, so we always tell her, you have all the resources you need, it is within you, draw from that, you'll be able to do that. And also things like the consequences, look at it from that perspective. So it's maybe
some already picked up. So you have the NLP presupposition of every person has their own resources, and I also heard when you're talking about the map and reality, so you throw each other, well, that's your map of the reality, what's the others, and also the perceptual positioning, right, when you said putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. So amazing. And what about Lanoma? Have you had any languages that you've used?
It happens all the time at home. It's, I would say, for a family to do this is really important. That way, you actually build a stronger team together at home. At the moment, my two children have done it with me, and my husband hasn't. So it's like there's a team of three and one single person on his own. So it's an unfair, there's no balance. So anyway, I really feel that, all family have to go through this.
So I guess, is there any moments that you're both training, Pratip? I can see all three of you training him.
No, actually, training comes later, but as soon as we've done the training, we've actually gone home and shared the knowledge with him and tried to educate him. This is what it actually means. So, and it's okay for us because we try to emulate it and follow it and all that. But for him, when it comes to him, the presupposition that comes to mind is every intention is a good intention. So we keep that in mind. The other one we keep in mind is the territory is not, the map is not, your map is not the territory. That is something that we actually, use at home all the time. But everybody should go into this training. Definitely. Makes life peaceful at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, this was a really wonderful discussion and conversation, and as we say in Fiji, a little Talanoa. And really thank you for being with us, and thank you for sharing, and thank you for your time and to be with us. So maybe what is your last goodbye as we end our little conversation here? Message to the world in influencing your speaking from the heart in why self-development is important for every single human being. So maybe we can each share with that.
Self-development is really important because it allows me to become a lot more relational, that I'm able to better understand what's happening within me, able to master myself a lot better, and those that are around me, I become better at communicating relationships, because these are important tools and skills that is able to really propel me to become the better version of me.
And why should they do it? So it motivates the people out there. So why you should come, because you should develop yourself, because it's really about the self-development. Why should everybody develop themselves?
So you should develop yourself so that you remain relevant and be able to influence not only within your home, at work, within the community, and together we can all help build our nation, Fiji.
So why not? Why would you not want to continue to be able to find the superpowers that are in you? You know, we talk about using our senses. How effective do we use them? With the self-development, or through the self-development, you'll discover and you'll bring meaning to what it means to make use of these superpowers. And when you discover that, oh, what a joy it is to continue to use it every day, in every aspect, in every step of the way, every blink of the eye, it'll just be an amazing feeling to wake up each day and know that I'm going to do better today than I did yesterday. And when you wake up to that kind of feeling, even if the weather is like this, it's still a sunshiny day.
Self-development for me is important for everybody. It is a lifelong skill that we do until we die. It's about valuing yourself, valuing how what you have in you that you can share with others. It's about improving yourself and improving the relationship that you have with others. It's about being a good version of yourself either in the workplace or at home or in the community or even as a good citizen. So to be able to develop yourself further or to put importance in your self-development, that is actually the stepping stone. So self-development to all the women and the men out there, this is going to improve the quality of your life. It's going to improve you as a leader, as a member in the community, as parents at home, with your relationships with everyone that you interact with on a daily basis.
Okay, so you've just heard some beautiful speaking of the heart of the importance of self-development. If this is something that speaks to you, if this is something you'd want to have in your life, and if you've come to a point in your life where you really wish you could work a little bit more on yourself, to understand yourself even better and also understand the people around you, get onto our website, find out a little bit more about our training. And in fact, this year is a really special year because we're doing it in 3 countries. So we're doing it in Fiji, we're off to Portugal, and we're doing our very first time NLP program in Portugal. And then we're going to Mauritius. So we'll be doing, we've had a few trainings in Mauritius. That's where we launched our neurosemantics training, and that's going to be in September. And then we're back in Fiji for another version of NLP for trainers, and then those that have already attended NLP for leaders, which is module 1. We're also going to be doing module 2 in December. So we're excited, and that's going to be a retreat. It's going to be an amazing 4 days of self-discovery and unleashing your own potential. So look forward would love to have you on our training in our next training, and contact us. We'll have information on our link below, and hope to see you soon.